Before I tell you how their world collapsed without me, I need you to understand what kind of family this was and what kind of role I played long before the fire. Because stories like this are never really about the fire. The fire is just the moment when the truth gets exposed. The night my house burned down, I didn't lose just furniture or walls or clothes. I lost the last illusion I had about who would stand next to me when my life fell apart. And the scariest part? I didn't realize it right away. I was standing barefoot on the sidewalk, wrapped in an oversized t-shirt, the cold air biting into my skin, watching orange flames chew through my duplex in East Austin. The fire alarm had dragged me out of bed. So fast, I didn't even grab shoes. Smoke burned my lungs, my ears rang, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Then my family pulled up, not running, not shouting, not asking if I was okay, they parked like they were arriving at an event, my mom stepped out first. She looked at the fire, tilted her head, and smiled. Not a nervous smile, not shock, a satisfied one. Finally, she said, "Karma torched the trash." My dad crossed his arms and nodded like he was watching something predictable. "You brought this on yourself," he added. "Some people are just cursed." No one asked if I was hurt, no one asked if I needed shoes, no one asked where I would sleep. They took pictures, selfies, actually. Fire trucks in the background, flashing lights, smoke curling into the night sky. Someone joked about captions. Someone laughed about hashtags. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just memorized the sound of their laughter mixing with the crackle of burning wood, because something inside me snapped so quietly that night, no one noticed and 1 year later. That quiet break is exactly what burned their world down. The perfect family brand and the invisible worker. Let me explain what kind of family this was. Because from the outside, they looked flawless. My mom, Diana, built her entire personality around being a perfect, relatable mom. Her social media was full of clean kitchens, cozy dinners, and captions about gratitude and growth. She talked about authenticity, but only the kind that still looked good on camera. My dad, Patrick, ran a small renovation business. He loved phrases like "no excuses" and personal responsibility. The type of man who lectured about discipline while quietly ignoring overdue bills. My older sister, Sophie, lived for aesthetics. Weddings, events, mood boards, champagne flutes clinking in slow motion. Her life was a highlight reel of intentional living. My younger brother, Evan, chased shortcuts, crypto, flipping electronics. Always one big move away from success. Always one emergency away from asking for help. And then there was me. Rachel. 29. Years old. Financial operations for a tech startup. Which is a fancy way of saying I spent my days making sure other people didn't accidentally burn their money to the ground. At home, though, I was invisible, not ignored, used. They didn't ask me for help the way you ask a person. They handed me problems the way you open an app. Dad shoved grocery bags full of receipts at me. "Just make sure the IRS stays happy." Mom forwarded emails and portals. "Can you skim this? I hate boring stuff." Sophie dropped spreadsheets in my lap. "Fix it so it looks cute but not terrifying." Evan texted, "Quick question." It was never a quick. At first. I didn't mind. Being needed feels like love when you don't know the difference yet. But over time, something became clear. They never learned. They never tried. I wasn't teaching them. I was replacing responsibility. So I started tracking it. Not for revenge. Not to bill them, but because I needed proof that I wasn't imagining how drained I felt. I opened a Notion page and called it Family Balance. Every task went in. Every fix, every emergency. I was the safety net. Under their curated lives. And the night my house burned, that safety net caught nothing. The fire changes everything, but only for me. The morning after the fire, I woke up in a cheap hotel off the highway. Popcorn ceiling. Bad coffee. Silence. I checked my phone. No calls asking if I was okay. But there were notifications. Evan sent a photo of my burned duplex, still taped off, fire emojis lined up underneath. Home sweet home. Sophie's Instagram story got forwarded to me, brunch with mimosas. Caption: some people burn bridges and then act surprised when they have nowhere to go. My mom posted a cozy family carousel like nothing happened. The comments were full. Of goals. Such a strong family. I put my phone face down. Then I did what I'd always done. I handled it. Insurance claims. Fire reports. Emails. Paperwork. A coworker, someone who barely knew me, texted, "Hey, heard about the fire. If you need a place or help, I'm here." That one message felt warmer than my entire bloodline. Within weeks, I had a tiny studio. Thin walls, creaky floors, but it was mine. And the first night there, surrounded by borrowed furniture that smelled faintly of smoke, I opened Family Balance again. I added a new section. The fire. Date. Time. What was lost. What was said. No one offered help. And that's when it hit me. If I stopped doing what I did for them, their perfect lives wouldn't last a month. That thought wasn't revenge yet. It was clarity. When you stop holding the rope, people let me slow this down here, because this is where most people misunderstand stories like this. From the outside, it might look like the moment I sent that message, the one where I said I was stepping back, that was the revenge. But it wasn't. That message wasn't an attack. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even emotional. It was administrative, and that's what made it terrifying for them. Because people who are used to control can handle anger. They can spin tears. They can dismiss pain. But they cannot handle silence paired with action. The day after I sent that group chat message, I woke up early, made coffee in my tiny studio kitchen, and opened my laptop like it was any other workday. No dramatic music. No shaking hands. No second guessing. Just execution. I want you to understand something important here, especially if you've ever been the reliable one in your family or friend group. When people depend on you emotionally, they say they love you. When people depend on you functionally, they feel entitled to you. My family didn't love my help. They relied on my invisibility. And the moment that invisibility started to lift, the panic began. The first cracks, the first message that came in that morning was from my dad. No greeting. No context. Just a forwarded email from the IRS with the subject line, "Second notice. Immediate attention required." Under it, he typed, "What is this?" Not "Hi. Not can you help?" Not "I'm stressed. Just confusion." Like the ground had moved without permission. I stared at the email for a long time, because for 2 years, I had been quietly fixing these notices before he ever saw them. Late filings, misclassified. Income, missed quarterly payments. I had explained it all, more than once. In plain language. And every time, he'd waved it off. "You worry too much. It'll work itself out. They always send those." So I replied calmly, "This is what I've been flagging. You'll need to call them or hire a CPA." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "You're really not going to help?" That question hit harder than any insult, because it wasn't about the iris. It was about the assumption that no matter how they treated me, no matter what they said while my house burned, I would still show up when they were. Uncomfortable. That assumption was finally wrong. Sophie's spiral. By mid-afternoon, Sophie's messages started. At first, they were light, almost joking. "Okay, but seriously, you're joking, right?" Then a screenshot of an email from her. Venue. Final payment due Friday to secure date. Then another. Florist invoice overdue. Then another. Catering confirmation pending. Her text came faster each time. "I don't understand these numbers. This planner is useless. Why didn't you flag this? Can you just look at it real quick?" And here's where I want to pause and explain something, especially for anyone listening who thinks boundaries mean being cruel. I could have fixed it. In under an hour. I could have untangled the whole thing. I knew which deposits were refundable, which vendors were bluffing, which invoices were duplicates. I knew, because I'd been carrying it. But boundaries aren't about ability. They're about responsibility. And responsibility had never belonged to me in the first place, Dot, so I replied with one sentence. You need to read your contracts or talk to your planner. She called immediately. I didn't answer. The voicemail she left wasn't angry at first, Dot. It was scared. Rachel, please. I don't know what I'm doing. I need you. That one almost broke me, Dot, because for a second, I felt like the villain. And that's how this dynamic survives. By making the person who finally stops enabling feel like the destroyer. But then I remembered something. When I stood barefoot on the sidewalk watching my life burn. She didn't need me, Dot. She had jokes. Evan hits the wall. Evan was quieter at first. Which, if you know people like Evan, is never a good sign. He doesn't panic immediately. He calculates. That evening, he sent a message. Hypothetical question. I almost laughed, Dot. It was always a hypothetical. If I sell inventory A now and roll it into B, will I still be okay next month? I didn't open the spreadsheet, Dot. I didn't run the numbers, Dot. I replied. I'm not doing financial planning anymore. His response came fast. Wow, overreact much. There was M-I-N-I-Z, a T-I-O-N, the universal language of people who don't want to face consequences. Then, I count on you. And that line right there, that was a confession. Not I appreciate you, not I'm grateful, not I'm sorry. I count on you. As if I were a utility, Dot, as if my role was to stay on quietly, no matter what, Dot. So I turned my phone off for 1 full hour. And in that hour, something important happened. Nothing exploded, Dot. No one died. The world did not end. The only thing that broke was the illusion that I was required to be available. Let's pause and recap where we are. Because this matters up to this point. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't expose anyone. I didn't sabotage anything. All I did was stop compensating for their avoidance. And the moment I did, they panicked off because when someone builds their life on borrowed stability, the scariest thing isn't revenge, Dot, it's independence. When consequences finally land, here's the thing people don't tell you about stepping back, Dot. It doesn't cause immediate chaos, Dot. It causes delayed collapse. Like a building with hidden structural damage, it looks fine. Until it DOESN single quotes T. The first real consequence hit my dad about 3 weeks later. He showed up at my studio unannounced, which he had never done before. He stood in the doorway, holding a stack of papers like they were evidence. I lost a client. He said flatly, not hello, Dot, not how are you, Dot, just accusation without saying the word. He explained, angrily, that he'd missed a licensing renewal. One I had always tracked. One I had always reminded him about. The client walked, Dot, and for the first time in my life, I didn't apologize. I said, that's unfortunate. He stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. You knew about this, he said, double quotes. Yes, I replied. And I told you about it. More than once. Silence. Then the line I've been expecting for years. After everything I've done for you. That's the moment the mask slipped, Dot. Because what he meant was, after letting you exist in my orbit, after allowing you to help, after benefiting quietly, how dare you stop? I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just said, I'm not responsible for your business. And something shifted in his face. Not anger, fear, the influencer without a manager. My mom's consequences were quieter, which made them worse. Her posts slowed down. The polished routine started slipping. She missed appointments. Double booked brand deals, paid late fees she couldn't explain. She called me one night, voice tight but sweet. I don't know how you keep track of all this stuff. I almost told her, I almost said, because I care. But instead I said, you'll figure it out. She didn't like that answer. She showed up a week later, standing in my hallway, eyes glassy. This family is falling apart, she said, and for the first time, I told the truth out loud. No, I said. It's just operating without unpaid. Labor, she didn't respond because there's no script for that on Instagram. Sophie's. Wedding reality, Sophie's wedding changed quietly. The venue shifted. The guest list shrank. The aesthetics softened into something she called intentional. But I knew the real reason. Numbers. The budget finally existed in her hands. She sent me one last message. You win. My wedding is ruined. That sentence says everything. To her. My support was the difference between success and failure. Not partnership. Not collaboration. Support. I replied once. I didn't ruin your wedding. I just stopped carrying it alone. She never answered. When they turn you into the villain here, what no one tells you about setting boundaries. People who benefited from your silence will rewrite history. The moment you speak, once I stepped back, the narrative changed fast. Suddenly, I wasn't the helper, I was the problem. Evan cornered me outside a coffee shop one afternoon. You're really not going to help me? He said, panic leaking through his confidence. I'm done if this inventory doesn't flip. I looked at him and said something that shocked us both. You were done the day you made my wallet part of your business model. He laughed. Sharp, defensive. Sisters help each other. No, I said. Sisters don't turn disasters into memes. He walked away angry, but anger is just fear with volume. The mother, CEO, and my mom showed up at my studio unannounced. Tears ready. Soft. This family is falling apart, she said. Is that what she wanted? I didn't invite her in. No, I said. What I wanted was a family that didn't laugh while my house burned down. She waved it off. We handled that badly, she said. But holding on to one night and destroying everything? That's on you. That's when I finally understood something. They didn't regret what they did. They regretted losing access. You call it bitterness, I said. I call it boundaries. She stiffened. Someday you'll regret pushing us away. And that's when the truth landed, fully formed. Family isn't all I have, I said. It's just all you have left. I closed the door gently. No slam. No drama. Just finality. What karma actually looked like. People love loud revenge. Didn't get that. What I got was quieter. Missed renewals. Lost clients. Downsized. Weddings. Stress they couldn't outsource. Their world didn't burn in flames. It burned in administrative reality. And the only person who knew how to stop it was finally breathing clean air. Final message to the VIU. You're the responsible one. The fixer. The cursed one. Listen carefully. You are allowed to step. Wait. Karma isn't fire. It's what happens when you stop saving people from the consequences of who they choose to be. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge is simply not showing up anymore. The quiet aftermath. Nobody talks ABO after the last confrontation with my mom. Something strange happened. Nothing. No explosions. No dramatic messages. No viral fallout. Just silence. And if you've never experienced this kind of silence, let me explain what it feels like. Because it's not peaceful at first. It's loud. When you've spent years being the emotional and logistical backbone of a group, your absence creates a vacuum. But instead of chaos right away, there's denial. People convince themselves you'll come back. They wait. They test the silence. That's exactly what my family did. A few days passed. Then a week. Then the accidental text started. From my dad, hey, hope you're well. Random question, do you remember the login for that licensing site? I didn't respond. From my mom. I found an old calendar reminder on my phone. Did you set this? Anyway, hope work is good. Still no response. From Sophie. I know things are tense. Maybe after the wedding we can talk like adults. I stared at that one for a long time because that sentence carried an unspoken message. Just get us through this last crisis. Then we'll acknowledge your feelings. That was always the deal. Help first. Feel later. I didn't reply. And here's the important part, because people misunderstand boundaries. I wasn't ignoring them to punish them. I was ignoring them because I had already said everything that mattered. Repeating yourself doesn't make people listen. It just teaches them you'll stay engaged. Guilt as a WEPO when silence didn't work. They escalated. Not with apologies. With guilt. My dad sent a voice note late one night. His tone was tired, defeated. You know, families don't get a reset button. You're either in or you're out. That one stung because it framed boundaries as betrayal. That's how people protect systems that benefit them. They moralize compliance. My mom tried a softer angle. She posted vague quotes on social media. You never know how strong you are until forgiveness is the only option. Another one, letting go of resentment is how families heal. She never tagged me. She didn't have to. People started asking questions in her comments. And for the first time, she didn't control the narrative completely. Sophie sent one last message before her wedding. I just wish you cared enough to show up. That sentence nearly pulled me back in because it twisted the story perfectly. It erased everything that happened before. It erased the fire, the laughter. The pictures, and turned me into the absent sister. This is the part where many people break. They show up just to keep the peace. They sacrifice themselves one more time, but I ask myself a question instead. If I go back now, what exactly am I returning to? Not love. Not accountability. Just obligation. So I stayed home. The moment I knew I'd won without trying. The moment I knew the power had fully shifted didn't come with fireworks. It came with an email from my dad. Subject line CPA recommendation. That's it. No accusation. No guilt. Just acceptance. He had finally done what he should have done years ago. He had finally recognized that my help wasn't guaranteed, and something clicked for me then. I wasn't powerful because they were struggling. I was powerful because I was no longer required. That's real independence. Not when others fail, but when you stop needing them to understand. Karma isn't fire. It's CONSEQUENCE as people love the idea of karma being instant. Dramatic. Public. Destructive. But that's not how it usually works. Karma isn't a lightning bolt. It's a receipt. It's the moment when systems built on avoidance finally demand participation. My family didn't lose everything. They lost convenience. They lost a buffer. They lost the person who quietly made their lives smoother while absorbing the stress. And without that buffer, everything felt harder, more expensive, more confusing, more real. That wasn't punishment. That was adulthood. What I gained by walking a here's what changed in my life. Once I stopped holding theirs together. My money stayed mine. My weekends were quiet. My phone stopped buzzing with emergencies that weren't emergencies at all, just consequences. I started tracking my balance instead. Therapy sessions, miles walked. Time spent with people who didn't need me to fix anything to deserve a place in their lives. And something else happened. Something subtle but powerful. I stopped feeling cursed. Because I finally understood something. I wasn't unlucky. I was overused. The final truth for anyone watching this, if you're watching this and thinking, that sounds like me. The fixer. The responsible one. The one who always shows up. Here. This clearly, you are not selfish for stepping back. You are not cruel for refusing to carry what was never yours, and you are not responsible for what collapses once you leave. People don't miss your presence first. They miss your function. And when you remove that function, the truth always surfaces. My mom laughed when my house burned down 1 year later. Their world started cracking without me. Not because I lit a match, but because I stopped putting out fires. I didn't start. That is what karma really looks like. Quiet. Delayed. And absolutely fair.